Welcome to the Pool Nation Podcast, where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. We talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. Now let's welcome your host, with over a decade of industry insider experience and still the reigning champion of Marco Polo, Edgar de Jesus, and his co-host, John J.J. Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and Zac the Pool Boy Nicholas.
Welcome, everyone, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. I'm your host, Edgar de Jesus, and yes, I am the reigning champion of Marco Polo, along with Mr. John J.J. Flawless, the fastest netter in the West, and the famous Zac, the Pool Boy Nicholas. Today, we're getting into the heart of your business, your cost per pool. This is the number that decides if your business is profitable, scalable, and more importantly, sustainable. We're going to walk you through how to calculate it, the expenses most pool pros miss, and how this sets the foundation for pricing decisions that you're going to make in 2026. But before we do that, I want to welcome everyone to our live podcast, the podcast where it's all pool talk. And we ain't talking about netting and jetting or splashing and dashing. We're talking about becoming a nation of pool pros. And yes, we will talk about the latest products, trends, and training in the pool industry. But before we get started today, I want to thank our visionary partners for this podcast, the SPPA, Blu-ray XL, Aquastar Pool Products, Natural Chemistry, Raypack, Heritage Pool Supply, Hayward Pool Products, Poolside Tech, Pool Brain, and Knee Deck. We want to thank them for their continued support. Mr. Zacharias, what's going on, brother? How you doing?
I'm doing good, and apparently you're doing good as well because you just nailed that intro. And can everyone just take a moment and let's give Edgar a big round of applause?
It only took 6 years, 5.5 years.
That was nice. I'm feeling it. The energy was there. I'm ready to go. So
the problem is I'm going to have to live up to that hype to that one time.
Yep. The bar is set higher now, so you're going to have to do better next time.
Let's do it, baby.
Doing well. Been rocking and rolling. Had a big team meeting today. Felt good to kind of get back in the saddle. I haven't done one of those. They've been doing it without me, which has been awesome, but I haven't done one in a long time. And so it felt good to kind of get back with the group and practice those skills. And I felt a little rusty. I'm not going to lie. I was a little nervous to get in front of everyone. It had been so long. But I did it and it was good.
Two things. I got a little FOMO right off the bat. Just kind of wanted to be there, right? You know how I am. I just love all that kind of stuff. And then number two, I did see the handouts. Kind of. Don't think I didn't notice. I was kind of scoping out what was going on, and then I saw them a little bit broken up into teams and working on something. I'm like, I watched the video like 4 or 5 times. I went down to the chiropractor and I was kind of watching, and I'm like, all right, let me check that out again. Let me check it out again. Let me check it out again. So
it's fun, man. I'm like, and today was all about personal brand, something we talk about all the time, and Pool Nation. And I wanted to bring some of that back to the team. And it was a lot of fun to be able to kind of utilize some of those tools that I've learned along the way to be able to get them to engage and kind of participate. And I think it was a really good time. Maybe they all hated. They probably left for like, dude, freaking God, we couldn't get him out of there fast enough.
Yeah. Now, how long was the training?
I think like an hour 15, hour 20. McKenna taught the first part because we're doing kind of a reputation management platform that she's rolling out. So first part of it was
talk about that because that thing is legit. Like obviously not today, but we should talk about that because I think that's a great tool that you found.
It's pretty sweet. I mean, it could bite us in the butt. We'll see what the reputation starts coming back as, but
yeah,
I think it'll be good.
But a lot of our conversation, especially with all the Matrix members that we've done, and we've done like 6 or 7 onboardings this week alone. A lot of it is, especially for those companies, Zac, that get into that 150, 200, and especially this time of the year. And we've talked about it. We're kind of back to our normal. The COVID days are over. So summertime is really busy. And then wintertime, you don't pick up as many pools because, homeowners aren't kind of upkeeping the pools as much. And you know how it is in wintertime, it's so hard to flip a pool green. I mean, you can, but it's hard because the water's so cold and all that kind of stuff. So what happens is you start to see where you get a little bit of a drop off. You lose a couple customers and then you kind of bring a couple customers on, and you can kind of get, it's very dangerous. You can kind of get into that cycle. And we talked about it, 15 pools could be $40,000 a year, based on the prices that you're charging and stuff like that. So there's got to be a big, huge focus on making sure that we don't have customer turnover, that we're taking care of them. And obviously, exactly what you're doing is, I think, important.
Yeah, we'll see. We can definitely talk about it.
Yeah. So we should do a podcast just on that. You know what we should do? I have an idea.
There we go.
Here we go. We should have Doreen on a podcast to do 1 week employee turnover, right? And employee retention. And then we should follow it up the next week with customer retention.
Yes.
How'd you like that?
Let's do it.
That's a good idea, right?
That's a great idea.
I
love anytime we can have Doreen on the podcast.
Oh, so the truth comes out. You just prefer Doreen over me, but I see how it is, brother.
Based on the podcast, yeah.
You know what? I would choose Doreen over me too, so I don't blame you. So anyways, hey, everybody that's out there, big shout out there. Maria, big shout out to you. Glad that you're doing okay. Jeanette, big shout out. Hey, if you're out there listening, if you're watching, jump on the chat, whatever platform you're on, and shoot us a quick message, and we'll give you a big, huge shout out here. Jennifer, big shout out to you out there. See, Doreen, Jennifer is going Doreen with the big, heart eyes and star eyes. And I get it.
Everyone
Jennifer.
feels that way. Yeah.
I get it, Jennifer, that she feels, that, hey, I prefer Doreen over Edgar. I get it. I think, like I said, I prefer Doreen over me too. Hey, Michael, big shout out to you out there. Hope you're doing good out there. So big shout out to all you guys. Hey, Zac, let's talk a little bit about what we have coming up. So we're going to be going out to Oxnard, actually Ventura. Hey, Mr. Brandon Roberts, what's up, brother? Big shout out to you out there, out in beautiful Texas. How do you like it with all that rain that we got yesterday? Dude, it was insane. I went over to meet with John from Pool Scouts, and you saw the video I sent you. It's like you could barely hear in the truck. It was kind of coming down so hard. And
I was laughing though. That's a common storm down here.
Over there, yeah. But did you see it was raining it was raining so hard that it affected, like, I guess hundreds or thousands of flights out of DFW. And again, take that with a grain of salt. Take that with a grain of salt. But it was just rain. It wasn't like storms with like winds or anything. It was just rain, and it was so bad that it disrupted everything out there. So Brandon, I'm assuming that you had a pool guy holiday out there, so hopefully you got to enjoy a quick, hey, let's just go check on the pools, and then boom, we're done for the day. Because you know what, we deserve a lot of those. And in California, they've been getting a lot of rain. They've been having a lot of pool man holidays. And I do have to give a shout out to OC Pool Solutions, because he went out, and homeboy like flies all over the place, Zac. He's like going on all these trips and all that. So he posts that he got done by 2, and then his next picture was his legs on a plane stretched out, and he's like, I'll be right back. So it's a big shout out to him. All right, Zac. So let's dive in today. And, last week we started our conversation with what we normally do during the wintertime, where we do a couple episodes where we really kind of focus on pricing and everything else. We talked about the rising costs between, the big three, all anywhere from, 6 to 9 to 12, whatever it was. And, how the outlook for 2026 is on pace of what we had in 2025. So there are going to be more price increases. They have made it known. It's in all their financial reportings. They're all publicly traded. So they share all that information. So you can kind of go out there and search it and find it. And, for us, we have to really take into account not just that, but everything else that has continued to increase in costs. And whether that's groceries, whether it's gas, whether it's insurance, meeting with people, I mean, year over year from 2024 to 2025, I've seen, companies go up on insurance alone, Zac, $1,400, $1,500 a year. So all that kind of stuff starts to creep up onto your cost of pools. And so today we want to talk about your cost per pool. And there's 2 things that we're going to talk about. I was talking about, let's talk about cost per pool. And Zac was like, oh, we need to do cost per pool plus Zach's, which was cost, per stop, right? And that was a great conversation that Zac and I had. And even at 10:30 at night last night, we're kind of, Zac's calling me and we're having this discussion about, we should talk about both. And it's true, because a lot of people, Zac, look at the price standpoint and they go, well, this is what I charge per week, right? So I charge 30 or 35 or 40 per week. That's kind of what I quote my customers. And other ones talk about it, monthly. Okay, it's $200 a month, it's 150 a month, whatever it is. So we added the step to do the calculation to be able to kind of figure out both. And it's very easy to do, but it really is the foundation to your business. It's the number that's going to change everything in your business.
Yeah. And we talk about this all the time. And this is the number that's going to give you the confidence to make the decisions that you need to make. And once you actually see what the real cost is of servicing a pool, once you see it written down on paper, it strips away all that uncertainty. There's no more guessing. There's no more assumptions. There's no more crossing the fingers and just hoping that your pricing makes sense and will work out. And guilty as charged. I've been in that position before. I'm sure we've all been there. It's just like, oh, let's just go see how it goes and fix it later. And it doesn't work. And once you know this number, you get this clarity, and it really helps to make those decisions around hiring, around pricing, around where you're going to pick up your pools, what locations you're going to service, and so on. It becomes a lot easier to make those important decisions. And the other thing is that it takes the emotion out of it. And instead of, thinking, man, I feel bad for raising my prices, or they've been a great customer for a long time, we all know Mr. and Mrs. Jones, and we have those scenarios. And if you could see that you're losing money and you're not making money on that pool, it makes that decision a whole lot easier on what you need to do. And so what it really boils down to is once you have that number, you get that clarity, you start making decisions based on your numbers instead of your feelings, and your business becomes a lot more financially healthier.
That gut feeling, right, Zach? It's like,
Yes.
oh, I think this is where it's at. And then you kind of get the number. I think we need to do a shirt that says, have you had that aha moment, right? Like once you figure it out and you're like, boom, there it is. Yeah. So let's jump into it, because as we're talking about it, obviously, this is the number that's going to decide whether you're profitable or not. And to a lot of the newer pool pros that are starting in the industry, I know that kind of figuring out the financial part is a little bit uncomfortable, because the way that we see it, Zach, is we always think that we need to be like that big, huge company that has these big, huge financial statements and, board meeting and going through all those financials and stuff like that. And it's not like that at all. As you start your journey, it's really a lot easier when you're smaller and you don't have to have those big, huge reports to look at and all the different things that you need to look at. When you're smaller, it's really easy to just kind of look at it and say, hey, what's my profit per pool? And then what's my profit per stop that Zach is talking about? And I think just figuring out those two, and mathematically, those are very easy to do, especially if you do some of the things that we're going to talk about to make that process, very easy. Now, for those newer pool pros, it's very easy to do. As you start to grow and now you start to add, repairs, and you start to add, renovations, and you start to get into building, that's when it starts to get a little bit more complicated, because now you have a lot of moving parts, right, Zach? Like you've got like all these kind of, we always talk about it, the micro businesses or the verticals. Now you have like 3 businesses kind of within your business, and you need to know if each one of those is making money. But anybody that's new into the industry, anybody that has not that many accounts, it's very easy to do. And let me tell you this, what we've seen is, based off all the people that we helped, is those that figure it out very early in their journey, they scale a lot faster and they build a stronger foundation than those that kind of have built, 200-300 pools. And then they figure out that, hey, their cost per pool isn't where it needs to be. And now they need to go back and readjust 150, 200 pools. So for all you pool pros that are out there, if you're newer into the industry, if you've got 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 pools, right? It's not a lot. It's very easy to figure out. And if you do this, it's going to give you that aha moment that we talk about. So let's jump into it, Zach, because most of the pool pros think that they know what their cost per pool is. And it's what you were talking about is what I think it is, right? It's the guessing part of it. And I talked about it in the last podcast. A lot of them, as we kind of go through them and go through their journey, man, a lot of times they're off 30, 40, 50, 60% off of where they think that they are, because there's a lot of things that creep up that they didn't even think about. And, it's simple. It's not just wages and chems. there's a lot more that goes into that. And so, when we start looking at everything, we have to include the tech labor. We have to include specifically for you. We talk about it all the time. You've got an office, you've got rent, you've got people in the office taking calls, you've got people that are helping you with HR and financial stuff, you've got somebody that's doing bookkeeping. Those are all costs that we need to take into account. And even one step further to that, Zac, is you're a W-2. So then on top of that, you need to account for workers' comp. You need to account for taxes that you're responsible for, that the business has to pay for. And so when we're doing this mathematical equation, we kind of don't think of those things, but there's a lot of other things, Zac, that we can go into, but general liability, chemicals, fuel, drive time is a big, huge one that we'll talk about today. Truck payments. The other thing that we don't think about is the tires, the brakes, the oils, like all those things, software, phones. I mean, we can go on, but really to figure this out and to get that cost per pool is really everything that the business is paying for. And the best way to think about it, if your business account paid for it, it belongs to the cost per pool. It's that simple.
Yeah, this is a part that most people aren't focused on. It's kind of out of sight, out of mind. We've got our head down and we're out there doing the work and generating the revenue. And these things are kind of behind the scenes. We're looking more at like chlorine, hourly wages, gas expense, the things that we're directly encountering on a day-to-day basis, but we're not fully considering, like, for example, the $3,000 that we spent at Costco or on Amazon, or the set of tires that we just had to buy, or the printer that broke, or the office electric bill, and so on. Those things are all real expenses that are going to be a part of running a business, and they're going to impact your profitability whether you're paying attention or not. And the crazy thing is these are the things that I talk about. There's a saying, death by 1,000 cuts, right? And I think this holds very true to this, where if you're not paying attention to this, these are going to sneak up on you, because you don't feel it on a day-to-day basis, but when they hit your bank account, they hit it hard. And if you're not tracking them, if you're not on top of it, you start kind of wondering, why am I working so hard? Why am I doing everything I need to do? But the bank account isn't getting any more money, isn't being any more stable, I guess I should say, any healthier. You've really got to keep an eye on these things.
Yeah, the other thing is, a lot of those expenses that you need to consider, they really don't care whether you clean one pool or you clean 500 pools, right? Those expenses are there. You got to pay for them, no matter what. They're fixed and they're going to come no matter what. So if you're not building your pricing and taking those into account, those are going to eat away at your margin. They're going to eat away at your profit because you're not kind of calculating those. And just like you said, Zac, I think that's why sometimes, you feel like you're working nonstop, and all of a sudden you're in your journey and you're working 7 days a week and you're just like, I feel like I'm working more, but that bank account isn't padding up the way that my work is going, right? I got a lot of work, but I don't have a lot of that money, into that bank account. So before we can get into the calculator, before we give you that number, I want to say this because I know a lot of pool pros feel this way, and people get overwhelmed just thinking about the financial side. Like I was just talking about, and I'm going to repeat it again. It feels like you need to understand like all those accounting terms, and you're going to hear people talk about EBITDA, and you're going to talk about, gross profit, net profit, and margins. And you're going to hear all these, CPA and accounting terms that seem to kind of overwhelm you a little bit, and they make you feel small because, Zac, it's like, I don't know what they're talking about, right? So I'm just going to kind of go quiet and I'm going to avoid it. And honestly, I think a lot of that fear keeps people from even starting and even, looking at the numbers. But here's the truth, Zac, you don't need any of that when you're starting, right? You don't need to be an accountant. You don't need to be a CPA. You don't need a finance degree or a 20-page spreadsheet. What we've seen is really you just need to figure out this number. And once you have everything properly in there, it's going to tell you if your business is healthy or if your business needs attention. And there's a lot easier way to get to that, which is kind of what we want to talk about today, which is, we've kind of joked around, Zac, and called it the 5-minute calculator. Because if you set up everything right, it's just this really quick mathematical equation once, boom, and you're done. And so we want to talk about that. So let's talk a little bit about what we call that 5-minute cost calculator.
First, I want to jump in real quick
Yeah.
on what you were just saying. I mean, there's a certain lingo that goes on. It makes me feel stupid when people start slanging those words around. We got levers we can pull on and all this stuff. It's like, okay, yeah, it's not as challenging as it sounds, as scary. And I'm pretty uneducated and I love the challenge of trying to kind of pick apart the numbers and figure out this is the health of your company. And this is where, when you start to put some time in here and look at these things and look at it in different ways and different perspectives, you start to see where the opportunity is, because, you know, we're all here to grow and get better and make money. And this is the part of the business where we're talking about money. So I just wanted to tag in on that, because this should be exciting to us all and not scary. And now we have Chat GPT and Gemini and AI that in an instant can break down what some of this is for us. So sorry, I just wanted to add in.
That's a really good point. And to me, it always reminds me, Zach, of when you're learning water chemistry for the first time. You're overwhelmed, right? Because you're talking pH, alkalinity, chlorine, ppms, parts per million, parts per billion, CYA levels, and all that stuff. And so that, for us in the pool industry, we master it and we can go talk to people and people look at us like, boom, it's going over my head. I don't understand what these pool geeks are talking about. But the accounting side has the exact same thing. It's just, you know, it's what's your cost per pool and what's your, and they're going to throw out terms like KPIs and EBITDA and all those things that you always kind of hear us talk about. And once you hear the description of it 3 times, you're like, oh, that's what that means. Okay, well, that's easy, right? And then all of a sudden you get it. But, you know, this is the part of your business that if you figure out early in your journey, you're just going to really kind of scale and be able to grow a lot faster. All right, Zach. So let's jump into a little bit that 5-minute calculator. And I'm going to start with number 1. I'll talk about 1 and 2, and then I'll let you jump in how to calculate it. So I'm going to talk about really the expenses and the things that need to be in there. So I'll take it one step back. And the first thing that I'm going to talk about is picking your period. So the very first thing that you need to do is you just need to figure out what the period is, right? Is it going to be a month? So is it going to be the 1st? So let's say that we're November 21st and you want to look at October. So you're looking at October 1st through October 31st. You've picked that date range. You can do 90 days if that's what you want to do, if you want to pick that range. But basically, step number 1 is pick the date range that you want to look at. And then all you're going to do is you're going to add up all of your expenses. And when I say all, with all capital letters, ALL, all of your expenses. And that's payroll, taxes, workers' comp. If you don't have any of those, that's fine. If you pay per pool, you're going to add the pay per pool, but you're going to add everything: the liability, the chemicals, the gas, the truck payments, the phones, you know, your cell phone that you're using for the business, office supplies. So if you're sending out invoices and you're buying paper and you're buying ink to send those, if you're still sending them via mail, your postage, your merchant credit card fee, it's just literally everything. So what you're going to do is you're going to pick that date range, and then you're going to pick all of your expenses. And if you want to make that process even easier, what we really recommend that you do is really make sure that you have one account where everything out of the business comes from and no personal stuff creeps in there. It's only business, because then it's very easy, because then you can just kind of go to your bank statement. You could go to Wells Fargo or Chase or whatever, and you can get, let me see all of my expenses from the 1st to the 31st, and it's automatically going to give you that number, Zach. It's just going to spit it right out for you. So it's not like you even kind of have to go through a lot of things to kind of figure out and add them all up in a spreadsheet.
So the next step, step 3, is going to be counting your service visits. Now, I'm going to break this down a little bit here because we're going to go over 2 different numbers. This sometimes trips people up, but track with me here.
That was the 10:30 call at night.
Yes. So see how well I do. So there's actually 2 numbers that you're going to want to calculate. And so the first one is the cost per pool. And this is going to be based on your total customers. This is really your big picture number. Think of it this way: if you have 120 accounts that you service weekly, your customer count is 120. That's going to be your household. That's going to be your pool, whatever. So this number is going to tell you the average cost to service one account. So it gives you a really good snapshot and understanding of your overall business health. And what I'm getting at is when you look at it on a cost per pool basis, you're going to see that If you charge, just making numbers up, $200 for one pool and your cost is $100, that's going to be your cost per pool is $100. Hopefully you're tracking here. The next number is going to be your cost per stop. This is going to be based on your visits, not your number of customers. This is where you're going to look at how many actual service visits you've completed. So using that same 120, if you have 120 weekly pools, that's roughly 480 stops a month. And so you have to do both calculations and look at it both ways, because you might have two houses that are paying the same monthly rate, but you have house A and house B, and house A takes you 4 visits and the other one takes you 8. Because say it's an Airbnb that you're servicing twice a week. It's not created equally. Or maybe you have a customer, and this is the one for me, it's callbacks.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Maybe you have a customer that just constantly, maybe you have problems, maybe they're a problem and they keep calling you back out. Well, if you go out there 10 times in a month and you're charging customer A and customer B the same rate, customer B's cost per service is going to be a lot different than customer A. So this is cost per pool is kind of your high level overview. Cost per service is going to be your real granular look at it. And so that's where hopefully that makes sense to you. But in the real world, your cost per stop is going to be the number that's going to give you your true, accurate, what it's really costing you.
Yeah. And, the goal of looking at that cost per pool is it's an average, right? And so what you're doing is you're kind of averaging out. But we all know that we don't all have pools that are, hey, what's your rate? $250. And every single pool is $250. That never happens. You have customers that you picked up 2-3 years ago. You haven't raised prices. Maybe they were at $150 back then. But if you figure out your average, and let's say that your average is $140, right? You've got employees, you've got admin, you've got rent, you've got insurance, you've got all these different things. And let's say that your average cost per pool is $140 and you're charging that customer $150, you're going to be able to look at it and right off the bat go, oh my God, Mr. Jones at $150, that doesn't make sense for me to continue to keep that pool, because now I'm only making $5 a week if I'm doing the 4 stops. So that's why it's really important to kind of get to this number, and that's going to give you an aha moment, and it's going to make you automatically, Zach, go back to those lower customers, and you're just going to be like, hey man, I'm not doing work for free, or I'm not doing work where I'm barely kind of breaking even. That just doesn't make sense.
I've had that. Like, I'm sure we've all had it. You look at it, you have that aha moment. You're like, I'm literally paying to service their pool. This is the best deal ever.
Yeah. And then from there, you look at it and you can go, look, if I'm doing Mr. Jones and I'm breaking even on that pool, why am I even servicing it? And if you stop servicing that pool, you're technically not losing any money. And the problem is we always look at revenue. We always look at, oh, well, that's an extra, $150. Yeah, but you're not making any money off of it. So even if you got rid of it, it's still the same. Nothing changes. So you want to figure out what that cost per pool is so that you can kind of have an idea of where you need to be. And what that number is also going to do, Zach, is as soon as you see it, and it happens over and over again as we kind of help people go through the process, is, some people say, oh, my market can't pay more than $200 or $150, whatever it is. And as soon as they figure out what their number is, they're like, oh, I'm going to quote $30, $40 more. And they go out and they quote it and they get it.
Yeah, don't care what the market says. I care what my business needs to survive.
And that automatically just changes your sales pitch. You become so much better at, the sales part to convince that customer to go with you at that higher rate. And look, we get it all the time. We get people that say our market can't handle those prices, or there's no way anybody in this area is going to pay that. But yet we talk to other businesses in the area, and they are charging those higher rates. There's a level of service for everybody. And here's the thing, if you're a one pooler and you are all by yourself and you don't have rent and you don't have admin and you don't have all those things, guess what? Your price can be lower because you don't have all those overhead expenses. So this gives you kind of that clarity right there. So Zach, I want to You know what? Let's talk about the calculation and how to do the calculation, and then we'll take a break because I don't want to take a break and kind of jump off, especially now that we're talking there. Okay. So we've given you step 1, 2, and 3, right? Pick your dates, pick your expenses. Now know how many pools you have and do the mathematical equation to know how many stops you have. So now you have the key 3 things that you need. And then step number 4 is total monthly expenses divided by customers. And that's going to give you your true cost per pool. So just like Zac was saying, you now take all those expenses and you divide it by the total number of customers that you have. And that's going to give you that true cost per pool. And that's going to tell you on average what it costs your business to service that customer for that month. And when you get this number, usually 1 or 2 things is going to happen. 1, you're going to either be shocked, or 2, you're going to finally understand why you feel so overworked sometimes and so underpaid. So a lot of times what happens is, for some reason, our brains are wired to be positive and to just see the best in every scenario. And most of the time what happens is, we kind of think, oh, my cost is $18 and it's actually 28, right? It's actually a lot more than and that happened to me too, Zac, when I was in the pool business. When I was doing that, I was kind of thinking that my costs were a lot lower. And then when I sat down, I'm like, ooh, wait. And that's okay. But that's why we're doing the math. The goal is to really kind of, with confidence, no judgment, figure out what your number needs to be so that you can adjust it and be successful. And then the second calculation is now the one that Zac called me for last night at 10:30 at night, is the cost per stop, right? And so what you're going to do now is you're going to do the exact same thing. You have the date range, you have the total monthly expenses for that time period, and you're going to divide it by the total number of stops. And this is going to give you what it actually costs on a weekly basis, the operational cost. And this is where things get really clear, Zac. This is the one that I know that you look at a lot. And because some of the customers get 4 visits, if I was big into Airbnb, so it was 8 twice a week. So it was 8. Some of them are going to use more chemicals. Some of them are going to take longer, have more drive time. So your cost per stop often gives you an even cleaner view of what's happening on that stop.
Yeah. And again, the cost per customer is really helpful, and that's that high level view that you want, but it just doesn't tell that full story. And when you look at the cost per stop, you're going to start seeing which pools are carrying their weight, which ones are draining your bank account. And if you're not doing this math, you're not going to see that. And that's, again, I'm going to go back to it. That's where we're out there. We're working, we're going, the days are getting longer, we're putting in more effort, and we're not getting any more profitable.
What I like to say, Zac, is cost per customer tells you your overall business health, and your cost per stop tells you where the leaks are, right? When you have both numbers, now you have that information. Now the business has become dangerous, right? Because now they've sharpened that pencil, and now you're ready for that next step and really into building that profit, that margin, and creating an actual pricing structure that's going to solve a lot of your problems. Let's do this. Let's take a word from our sponsors. When we come back, I'll let you jump back into that. And then what we're going to do is we're going to do a little bit of a deeper dive into kind of some of the categories that we have. And then we're going to do, obviously, part 3, where we kind of, break down a little bit even deeper. So we'll be right back.
Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. U.S. Motors Neptune Variable Speed Motor provides a versatile replacement solution for all your pool pump motor needs. This motor can communicate with pool control systems, provide low voltage options to work with time clocks, and can be installed as a standalone pump motor. The Neptune motor can be easily installed on existing pumps, upgrading them to a variable speed pump without the need for replumbing. Enjoy energy savings and quiet operation by installing a Neptune Variable Speed Motor today. For more information and to find your local distributor, visit usmotors.com/pool. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize NITEC, their exclusive industry-first technology. NITEC heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, NITEC creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/NITEC. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit Hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. Mr. Jay Brakefield, big shout out to you out there, brother. Happy Friday. It is the week before Thanksgiving, so it's right around the corner, Zach.
Yes. Happy Friday.
Were you even ready for that?
No.
It creeped up on you.
Don't say that.
So I'm sure the team is excited.
Yeah. Everyone's getting Thursday, Friday off. No makeup. Enjoy a 4-day weekend. We're going to Renaissance Festival with the family and do the whole dress up thing.
Where's that one at?
This one's up in Magnolia, like Woodlands up there.
Or it's at Houston.
Yeah, Houston.
Yeah, gotcha. Yeah, it's a little too far for me. I won't drop down and pop in and kind of scare you guys.
We're nerds. You guys need to come down.
So let's continue our conversation. So, what are your thoughts? Obviously, we closed up a little bit talking about once you have both of those numbers, you're really going to now be informed from your business standpoint.
Yeah, again, going back to clarity, I think that's the key word here, is that once they have that aha moment, people start to look at it and say, man, I thought my cost was $20 a pool. And they look at it and they're like, dang, it's actually $32. Suddenly things just start to make sense. Okay, that's why we're trending this way and not trending up, or that's why I'm in this constant cycle that it feels like we're not gaining any traffic. And so having those numbers answer the question that everyone's been struggling with. And to be completely honest, I think the number one most struggled with question that we hear is, how much should I charge? I think that's like the most common question in the industry. This is where you can figure out how much you should charge or need to charge. And the fun part, I think, is when having that conversation or someone's going through the exercise and someone's doing the work, is watching that light bulb go off. I think, sometimes it's stress, but I think a lot of times people realize that there's opportunity. They start to connect all the dots, realize why they're feeling burned out. And you can see that stress kind of drop off of their face when they finally start understanding it. again, it gives you that clarity. That clarity is empowering. That clarity provides opportunity. And that's what this number does.
Yeah. And obviously we joke around and we call it the aha moment. And when people have that aha moment, and we've had people that we talk to and, they figure out that number and they're like, I knew it. I knew I needed to be, and I'm going to, quote them that extra $30 for these customers, and these customers that are here need to go up. And it's just, they're instantly empowered. We call it the light switch moment, where there's no doubt, right? It's like the light switch goes off, they kick into gear and they know what they have to do and they fundamentally change it, and they're not afraid to do it anymore because they have that moment of clarity. So it's really important for everybody to kind of figure out what these numbers are early in the journey. And the one thing that I have to remind everybody, and I call the winter times, I call the winter months the fake months. And that is that most of the time during the winter time, and there's always exceptions to everything, but most of the time in the wintertime, what happens is that you're going to have less expenses because, you're not consuming as much chemicals. And if you are quoting a price that includes chemicals, that's a cost that you need to incur. So most of the winter times, you're not spending as much chemicals, your expenses are going to come off. So the last thing that you could do as a business owner is figure out in December what your cost per pool is, and then just think that's what it's going to be the rest of the year. It's going to change every month. And therefore, every month you have got to look at that number so that you know exactly where you are. And what you want to do is really figure out what's your worst month. Is it June? Is it July? Is it August? Is it September? Is that when you're spending the most chemicals and your expenses are at the highest? Because that's what you want to protect. What you don't want to do, Zach, is figure it out in December and go, oh, I'm making plenty of profit. And then you never look at it. And then June, July, August, you barely break even or you lose money. And then you're going to have I made money for a couple months, and then for a couple months, I didn't make any money. And then you're kind of stuck in that limbo.
And not only that, like in terms of seasonality, but just the economy. I think sometimes we find comfort in understanding what trends we typically see in the different seasons. And with that comfort, sometimes we back off a little bit from continuing to do the work and look at these things. But as we all know, the economy is constantly changing. It's very fluid. Things are going up, things are going down. You have to stay on top of it. This is not, you could do it once a year, but you're going to have
help.
Yeah, it's not going to help. You're going to have much better results, much better. Like Edgar said earlier, like the people that get on it, figure it out, stay on top of it, they build that strong foundation, and we see that growth a lot quicker. So look at it all the time.
Example of those that you're talking about with the economy is just gas alone. So if gas goes up 50 cents a gallon, 75 cents a gallon, it's a huge impact with all the driving that you're doing. So you kind of have to take that into account. The gas goes up, the insurance goes up, the chemicals go up, and it just starts to all that up. So if you're doing it on a monthly basis, you're going to have a really good eye on the price. Now, Zach, there's something that I want to do, and I want to talk a little bit about some of the expenses that we kind of think of, and we think of them as just one number, but we have to go a little bit even deeper within those so that it kind of sticks to the back of your brain. And I'm going to start with one that we have to be very careful with, and that's labor, because it's very different. And for everybody, it's different. If you're 1099, you're paying per pool. But once you start to make that transition to W-2, there's a lot more that goes into that hourly rate that you're paying. And so I'm going to pick numbers, but let's just say that, you're paying $22 an hour. That's really not the real cost. There's a lot of things that add on top of that $22. And you're going to have obviously your base wage, and then you got to add payroll taxes, and then you got to add workers' comp, and then you got to, add into account sick days. If you do sick days, you got to add that. You add vacation time. Just today, you had a training, and you had to pay all those employees to sit there for an hour and a half to do training.
And then overtime will kick in.
And then the overtime will kick in. And then that kind of starts to create that. And what I want people to understand is if you're on a W-2, on average, your burden is usually 25 to 30% higher than the hourly wage. So they normally will tell you, hey, figure out what your wage is. And normally what has to be added on top of that is about 25 to 30%. And that's why it's really important to add every single thing into that mathematical equation, because once you hire somebody, it's not just the $22. You got to pay all these other things that we've talked about, and the liability insurance and everything, that gets into that calculation. So by the time that you take that $22, Zach, you're what? 27, 28, maybe even $30. And in the real world, you look at it, and 18 becomes 23 to 24 bucks, and $20 an hour becomes 25 to 26 bucks an hour. $22 becomes 27 to 29, and 25 becomes 30 to 31. And it just reminds me, we were on the Instagram Live on Wednesday, and we were talking about this, and we were talking about what wages people should pay and how to figure that out for the business. And we were talking about it, and we were talking about, whatever the rate was, and $25 or whatever, but we didn't talk about, you need to take into account that $25, right, is going to become 30 or 31 with all the burdens that you have. So we kind of want to talk about some of these other things so that you kind of get, the concept and the idea of all these other things that need to go in there, because you got to do the training time, the day that the tech got sick, the holiday pay, even holiday parties, right? You're paying them to be there at the holiday party, and all that labor just kind of completely starts to stack up.
So another big one is going to be chemicals. Everyone can relate to this one. And a lot of times we look at it as just like that single tablet that we put in the pool at that moment in time, or that gallon of liquid that we just added the pool at that moment in time. But that's not the real number. The real number is going to be what your business account spent on the chemicals for the entire month. So if you went out and you bought a pallet of tabs on sale, or you stocked up on a whole bunch of liquid chlorine, it's not going to matter whether or not you used it all this month or not. Your bank account paid for it. It came out. So it's going to go into your cost for that month. And this is where a lot of people get tripped up. They look at chemical usage at each pool, but never tie it back to what they spent in bulk. And again, you should look at what you spend at each pool. I'm not saying that this overshadows that. This is where you need to look at these things at different perspectives, but for what we're talking about today. And so a lot of people get in that habit, and they start thinking like, oh yeah, my chemical cost is $4 a pool. But when they sit down and they check the books, and they realize that, man, we spent $2,400 on chemicals this month, and they figure out the number of visits, it puts it at like $7 or $8 a stop. And that difference matters, because if you're pricing your service based on a straight $4 chemical and you're actually spending $8, that money is coming out of your margin.
Yeah. And the one thing is, there's different types, and we get this all the time, where people go, oh, well, no, that's not the way it works. Is, there's a accrual thing that you can do in accounting, and you can pay it and accrue it and kind of pay it out in those other months. That's fine. That's for a big company. Most of the smaller pool pros are not going to get into they don't have CPAs. They don't have accounting teams that are doing that are kind of spreading out their profit and loss over months, that they say, I bought $4,000 today, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to accrue it, and then every month I'm going to allocate $1,000. Can you do that? Yes. Do company do that? Yes. Are most of the pool pros going to do that? No. We're at the stage where we don't have that accounting team in place to do that. So I know some of them are going to go, oh, well, we, bigger ones, well, we use accrual. What we're talking about here is we're talking about cash basis profit and loss statement, where it is what it is. If you bought it this month, you paid it out of your bank account this month. Nothing wrong with that. We're not saying don't go out and get a better deal on chemicals. If you can go out and buy a pallet and it's going to save you $1,000, you could do that. You just want to, when you do the math, you want to take that into consideration, and you want to know that's why that month your chemical cost was so high. So totally could do that. Just take that into account as you're doing that. Zach, the other one that I want to talk about that is often kind of not related to it so much is really the drive time. We're always talking about this, and you've got, your route is what, all 300 pools within an 8-mile radius?
Yeah, we've started expanding. So I think there's like 6 or 7 of them that are a little outside of that. But yes, the majority of them are within 8 miles.
Yeah. And here, the reason I want to talk about this is one of the reasons why it's so important to tighten the route, continue to go back every couple months and readjust and cut those drive times. And if you've picked up a couple pools, I know it's difficult to kind of go, hey, Zach, you're not going to do this pool anymore. John is going to do it now. And then in 3 months, Edgar, you're not going to do this one. Now Zach's going to do that one. But it's imperative that you're sitting there and you're cutting the drive time, because if you're paying your tech $28 an hour, right? But what we call the burden rate, right? That includes everything, that the taxes and all that kind of stuff. 30 minutes of drive time is $14 straight out of the pocket. And I want you to think about that. For that 30 minutes of drive time, you paid for that employee to do absolutely no work. They're just driving. And so if you could grab that drive time and you can cut it down per stop, then that eliminates that you're burning that pay for them just to drive. And that's huge. I mean, that's $14, Zach. Think about it. That's $14, not because you messed up, not because the tech was slow, not because the pool was difficult, literally just because the house was that far away. So that's why when we talk about route density, it becomes a huge part of your profitability and you can't ignore it. You constantly have to be going back and doing it. The problem is, Zach, it's not fun to do. When you've got one tech, it's a little bit easier to do. When you have 10 guys, you're constantly having it. It's a big process to be able to do that. So again, we talk about that route density and it becomes so important to your business's profit, because you can have 2 pools at the exact same rate, $165 a month, but one of them takes 5 minutes to get to and the other one takes 18. Now you have 2 different price points. One pool is actually costing you more money than the other one. On paper, they're going to look the same, but the reality is that's not the case. So the other challenge with that is, you've got apps, you have all that kind of stuff, but your apps aren't tracking that, right? Most of the time, you just kind of clicked from the moment that you started to the moment that you are done with the pool, but it doesn't track any of that, drive times. And it's never going to show that 12-minute drive that it took you to get there. So all of that is paid labor. So that's why in our industry, it's always so important to focus on that drive time.
It's just a drain at that point.
It really is.
You start to look at 5 days a week times however many route technicians you have out there, and you look at all the drive time and total that up. And it's like, is there an opportunity to get another pool done, get another account in there where you're actually generating revenue with that time? So we know, like in the beginning, like sometimes you do what you got to do to get going, but as you start to grow, you really need to take that into consideration and manage that. And going on from drive time, that takes me into fuel, and trucks are maintenance machines. Got to have them, but man, yeah, I mean, I think we're looking at a drive shaft right now that we have to have replaced.
No.
Because of salt in the bed dripping down on it, and it's all rusted. And that's on a 2021 Tacoma. It's not an old truck.
That's a brand new truck, baby, especially for a Toyota.
Yeah, I didn't forecast that one. I didn't expect that, but it is what it is. I mean, these things happen when you have machines on the road and people going and people working out in the elements. You're going to have to deal with these repairs. So tires, brakes, oil, miscellaneous repair. Down here, AC. We work our ACs hard, and they constantly need some maintenance and upkeep, and you have to include that. And again, this is one of those sneaky ones, because it out of sight, out of mind. You're going, you're factoring, and then wham, you get hit, and you get hit hard. And so this is something that you need to be considering and factoring into these equations when you're figuring this stuff out. And then another big part of this is that not only when the truck breaks down do you have a repair to pay for, but you also are paying for lost productivity. So that may result in, like, you're having to double up people and have them do more pools together. They're having overtime because of it. The customer's suffering because their experience has changed and isn't as good. So, I mean, there's just a whole hidden bunch of costs and expense and things like that you have to factor when you're talking about fuel and vehicles.
Well, in the good old days, Zach, of a brake job being $200 or $300, those days are gone.
Yeah, they're making the
They're
trucks
ridiculous.
so complicated. I mean, you have had this conversation, but our van needed some AC work, and they literally had to remove the entire dash to work on the AC. And I mean, it's the reality. The newer vehicles are more complex. There's more technology. There's more features. It's getting more and more expensive. So these are definitely important things that you need to factor.
Yeah. And the cost of the cars, right, is kind of, I was
You're gonna
reading
get
an
me
article,
going.
and the weird thing is in the US, the average price of a car, the average price today is $50,000. Think about how
That's
crazy that is.
insane.
So, and I look at it all the time. I look at like newer trucks and stuff like that. You know, like every truck is $100,000. Every nice truck is $100,000. Stuff that 6, 7 years ago wasn't the case. But
Well,
it's
think
just
about all home services. Like,
Mhm.
I have this dream that someone's gonna come out and create a work truck. Like, we just need windows that we can crank. We like the levers we pull. We don't need flat screen touch screens. Like, I mean, let's just make a work truck, and that
Yeah.
would benefit all of us. We used to buy Toyotas for 9, 10, $11,000, and now they're freaking 25, 30, $35,000 for a new one. That's insane.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That's
it's my
that's
rant.
absolutely great. Yeah, we could go down a rabbit hole with that one. You know, it's funny because I saw online and it was a 2024 or 2025, something like that, 250. No, it was a 450. It was huge, but it looked amazing. And it was like $74,000. And I'm like, oh, that's got to have like 700,000 miles on it. And then I looked at it and it was like 16,000 miles. And I'm like, this doesn't look right. And then you look down and it's like, oh, rebuilt title. I'm like, oh, that's the only
Yeah,
way that bad boy is
for
going to be that
74,000.
for 74,000, right? It was like, that's just completely crazy. So, you know, I think the other one that we need to talk about, Zach, is insurance. And insurance has a big umbrella because you have the auto, you've got the liability, you've got the workers' comp, and those right now are raising faster than anything else. I mean, insurance has just been one of those where it's going completely crazy. And, you know, it's one of those big ones that the pool pros underestimate because it doesn't hit every week, right? You're just kind of doing it once, you're paying once a month, and then you get the notice that it went up, but you really kind of don't dive in deep to look at it. And you are also not going out there every year, every 6 months and kind of rebidding everything to see if you can get the best price. But insurance has gone up more than almost any other category in the last 2 years. And it's like auto insurance is up, general liability is up, workers' comp is up. Every single one of these have been climbing, and sometimes dramatically. It's like I just talked to you. I just saw a business that it went up $1,500 in 1 year. That's a huge impact. So I think a lot of that is the effect of all the prices going up. And that is that, let's say that you are in a region where there's a lot of hurricanes and then a lot of houses get destroyed. And now they have to rebuild that home. Well, 5 years ago, wood was cheap and nails were cheap and labor was cheap and all that was a lot more inexpensive. But now they're going to go rebuild that house. Back then, it could have cost $200,000 to rebuild that house. Now it costs $350,000 to rebuild that house because of all the prices of everything that's gone up. So therefore, the insurance has to protect themselves and say, well, your policy that was $4,500 a month now needs to be $6,000 because if something happens, that's how much it's going to cost into getting that fixed and getting that repaired. So even if you are the safest person, even if you've had no claims, if you haven't had any of that, you've seen the prices go up anywhere from 10 to 20% year over year. And it's like literally year over year, those prices just kind of continue to climb. So it's really important that you go back every 6 months or at least every year. And if you don't do it, put somebody in your office. Have them go out, have them bid that, have them shop it, have them do as much as you can. You might not be able to save all $1,500, but if you could kind of get it quoted and save another $700, then look, at least you're kind of bringing that cost down. Because at the end of the day, Zach, it's one of those where it's like, boom, either $600 or $1,200 or $2,000. And guess who's going to pay for it? You. And at the end of the day, you have to make that mathematical equation to go, okay, now everything else has gone up, my rates have to go up.
Yeah. And insurance isn't optional. This isn't something that you can look at it and go, you know what, like that's way too much. I don't agree with that. So maybe I'll look into it again next month, or maybe I'll look to, when renewal comes around again. No, this is something that if you're going to be a legitimate business and you're going to run a legitimate business, you have to have insurance. You need to have liability. You need to have workers' comp. You need to have auto insurance. You need to have all these things in place to protect yourself. Edgar said, even if you're the safest person out there, like you never know what could happen. And that's what the insurance is for. And unfortunately, it is very expensive because everything has gone up in cost.
And it could be a mistake. It could be an employee mistake. It could be, it was just a mistake and mean to do it. And whether you leave the water running or you throw trichlor to the bottom of the pool, or you even go to drain a pool and it backs up into the house, you're not doing that intentionally, but you're going to have a claim. And especially with the price of everything nowadays, it's hard for the business to just go, well, I have enough money in the bank to be able to pay for whatever happens. Zach, there's one more that I want to talk about, and this one probably won't impact a lot of the smaller businesses, but it's one that creeps up very quickly and nobody talks about. And you have an office. I want you to talk a little bit about this, because office cost is something that can kind of get out of hand. And I want you to talk about this from you having a building where everybody has to come in and work from and stuff like that, all the costs that go associated with that office.
Yeah. And before I jump into that, I want to say, I talk to a lot of people and they may not have the office now, but that's the direction they're headed. And so I want to talk about these things today because these are the things that you need to consider. So when we're looking at an office, there are an endless amount of expenses involved with rent, with phones, with software, with printer ink. It all starts to add up. And this is one that a lot of people overlook when they're planning for an office, or even when they have their office. A lot of people overlook it because it doesn't feel like a service related expense, right? You're not out there dropping tabs. You're not doing a filter clean. You're not fixing a pump, but these office costs are real. And they're ongoing, and you are incurring them, and they're hitting your business every single month. You need a place to work. You need computers. You need phones. You need internet. You need that software to run your route. So maybe you don't even have a physical office and you say, well, I work from home, so I don't have those costs. But yes, you still do have those office type costs to run your business. You have a cell phone or a phone line. You have apps for routing or field management. You have QuickBooks or whatever you're using for accounting. You might have Dropbox or Google Drive, or you might be using Canva for some of your marketing efforts. You have
or you might have all three.
Yeah, or you might have all three. Your laptop, your equipment. What are you going to use all three of those things on? You need a mouse, you need a webcam, whatever it may be, your printer. And I'll tell you what, printers are the bane of my existence.
Oh, man.
We were just joking. I forget. I think it was the printer. And we were talking about taking it outside and going office space on it in the parking lot. So
recording it.
Yeah, recording it. But with that equipment, you have ink that you have to constantly, you have Wi-Fi, you have furniture, you have desks, you have Amazon orders for cables and blah, blah, blah. And it just air filters for the AC, cleaners for the floors and the bathroom and the windows. So you get the picture. It all adds up. It all comes out of the business account. And when you add it up over the course of a whole year, it's not small. For some people, it's hundreds. For some people, it's thousands of dollars that you're spending just to stay organized, just so you can deliver that service to a customer. That's what it's all about. And I have this conversation is we don't have an office for fun. This isn't like Fantasy Factory where we're going in and skateboarding and that's cool. We have this all so we can deliver the level of service to our customer. We have to account for these in our cost per pool because that's part of delivering that service.
And it just made me think, remember when we did the tour of Josh's place, Gold Medal?
Yes.
How many people he has in the office? Just think about how many cubicles they have, how many offices they have, how many computers they have in there.
Light bulbs.
Just everything.
bulbs.
Everything just adds up.
Their light
And-
bulb bill is probably more than like a lot of people's entire office expense account.
Yeah. And, we joke around, and Doreen's on here. Big shout out to Doreen, and she can relate to the printer and the ink costs. We were talking about it because we were printing stuff for the PSB Expo, and it was like her and I were just kind of kept joking around. And, now I'm to the mindset that, how many calls did we have about buying a freaking printer, Zach? Because it was like, I'm walking into the Office Depot and kind of like, who has the cheapest ink, and where can I buy the, cheap ink that I can get on Amazon, the refill? I'm being the cheap customer kind of, because it's like, man, you go to buy ink and it's like $200, and you freaking print what? 500 pages. I'm like, this is a joke.
There's a whole racket around ink. I feel like. But
you know what they do is they're like drug dealers. They'll give you the printer for free, and then they hook you with the ink. And then they get you with a really nice printer, and then your SOL, don't even start getting me ready with talk about laser printers and their costs. Forget about it. So, hey, Zach, I think, obviously we've been at this for a little bit over an hour, about an hour and 15 minutes. Let's do this. Let's take our final word from our sponsors. We're going to do a part 3 of this, and we'll obviously continue our conversation. We'll talk about that here in just a little minute, but let's take our final word from our sponsors, and we'll be right back.
Pool pros have specific needs when it comes to general liability insurance. The SPPA program has you covered. With 3 tailored and customizable general liability options, SPPA makes it easy for pool pros to feel secure. Find out more and get covered at thesppa.com. U.S. Motors Neptune Variable Speed Motor provides a versatile replacement solution for all your pool pump motor needs. This motor can communicate with pool control systems, provide low voltage options to work with time clocks, and can be installed as a standalone pump motor. The Neptune motor can be easily installed on existing pumps, upgrading them to a variable speed pump without the need for replumbing. Enjoy energy savings and quiet operation by installing a Neptune Variable Speed Motor today. For more information and to find your local distributor, visit usmotors.com/pool. Blu-ray XL is the power of minerals working for you. Reduce your overall chemical costs and labor up to 50% guaranteed. Whether you have 20 accounts or 20,000, Blu-ray XL's direct pricing and free shipping to the pool trade have you covered. Improving pool professionals' profit and work-life balance is what they do. Blu-ray XL, the real mineral purifier. Visit them at BluRayXL.com.
Blu-ray all day.
Aquastar's new pipeline cartridge filters, available in 2 sizes, deliver top-notch hydraulic efficiency along with best-in-class filtration performance, approaching that of DE filters. Uniquely designed, open pleat spacing means 100% of the media square footage is usable. And these claims are backed by NSF test results. Designed with the pro's time and comfort in mind, the patented double locking system improves safety and ease of access, making filter cleaners faster than ever before. Available now. Ask your supplier for pipeline filters today.
Natural Chemistry, a leader in specialty water care solutions for over 30 years, is proud to provide products that make pool service easier than ever before. Its unique enzyme formulations in Pro Series Pro Blend improve efficiency of your pool program while reducing frequency of filter cleaning and scum lines. Natural Chemistry is also well known for its wide variety of phosphate removal solutions that include a non-clouding formula in Phos-Free and extremely high-range removal with Pro Series Phos Remove or Phos-Free Max. Save time, save money, save work with Pro Series products. Stop sacrificing durability or efficiency with the help of Raypak's new Avia HD models that utilize NITEC, their exclusive industry-first technology. NITEC heat exchanger technology is Raypak's latest solution to superior strength and maximum efficiency when it comes to residential pool heating. With 900% more nickel compared to copper nickel in critical surfaces, NITEC creates an ideal surface to protect against scale formation and erosion without compromising on Avia's 84% thermal efficiency. Learn more at raypak.com/NITEC. The next evolution in lighting is here. Universal Color Logic 2.0 from Hayward. The latest in pool and spa lighting was designed with you in mind, making installation a breeze. Upgrades include a detachable cord and first-of-a-kind adjustable lower catch to overcome variations in plaster thickness. As always, Universal Color Logic lights retrofit into virtually any in-ground pool or spa while delivering industry-leading, vibrant color. Visit hayward.com to discover more.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Pool Nation Live podcast. Mr. Todd, what's going on? Booth, what's going on? Big shout out to you out there, brother. Hope that you're doing great. We continue this conversation. We're kind of talking part two of, really kind of Pool Pro pricing for 2025, how to figure out what your rates are and where you need to be. So it's part two of part three. Might be a part four, Zach. There might be one more after that. So, what I want to talk about, I'll talk about it at the end. Let me get some final thoughts from you, and then we'll talk about what we're going to talk about in the next podcast.
Yeah, I mean, we covered a lot today. We put out a lot. It was a lot of information, and I hope that my word puzzle that I was, spitting out earlier made sense. And really, if you break it down, it's not complicated. So hopefully you grasp that there, because this is an important part of growing a financially successful business. I think you got to learn to love the numbers. Don't stress about the lingo. That will come with time. We want everyone to find that clarity because, like I said earlier, clarity empowers you. And once you have that clarity, it's going to show you where your opportunities are, where your opportunities to make more money, where your opportunities to provide a better service, where your opportunities to grow your company are. So I hope that this was helpful today. And I hope that everyone has a good weekend as we kind of gear up for some Thanksgiving break. I hope everyone gets a Thanksgiving break.
Not gear up. It's like, it's right there, bro. It's like next week already. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah. I told you, dude, I'm blinking years at this point in my life.
Know. It's crazy. It's insanity. So yeah, for everybody out there, a couple of things that we will talk about, next week. And that is, we kind of want to talk a little bit about really kind of what should your margin be, right? Like we've talked already about how to do the mathematical equation, how to focus on figure out your cost per pool, your cost per stop. But what should your margins be? And what we'll do is we'll kind of share of what some of the averages are out there on the industry based on whether you are one pooler, whether you are, somebody that's growing, somebody that's in that empire phase, somebody that's a franchise. We'll talk about some of those from the industry. And we'll talk a little bit about, some of the other things that you need to do to make sure that you structure your rates for 2026, how to protect your business, stay competitive, but more importantly, stay profitable. And we'll talk a little bit about a couple of those ones that still creep up, Zach. I think one of the things that I really want to talk about, and I know that you will do a little bit of a deep dive into this, but it's, some of those things that creep up, and it's the non-billable hours, right? When we start talking about all the things, those things that you can't bill for that kind of creep up and eat away out there. Jeanette is saying, I have been known to just buy a new printer as an upgrade because the ink was just as much. That is so true. That is so freaking true how crazy it is, Jeanette. Anyway, so I hope that everybody enjoyed the podcast. Happy Thanksgiving to everybody out there. I can't believe that Thanksgiving is going to be next week. And then a couple of weeks after that, it'll be Christmas. And then a week after that, it'll be New Year's. And then a week after that, we'll be into 2026. So I do want to thank everybody and, all of your support for being part of the Pool Nation family. We really appreciate it. Hope that you and your family have a great Thanksgiving. We'll catch you on the next one. Take care, Zach. Bye.
See ya.
Thanks for listening to the Pool Nation Podcast, a member of the Pool Nation family. You can listen to us live every Friday here at 9 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Central, and 12 noon Eastern Standard Time. You can find us at Pool Nation or poolnationpodcast.com, on Facebook, or on Instagram at pool.nation. And to find more info about Pool Invoice, the billing software built specifically for the pool industry, go to poolinvoice.com. Before you go, this is what the pool industry has been waiting for. Poolmanuniversity.com. It's the first platform dedicated to learning the swimming pool service and repair industry. A pool service community where you can connect and find videos on business, service, water chemistry, and repairs. See you there at poolmanuniversity.com.